So what we're doing here is we're doing a mocked up champion select. So basically what's happening is the bans are for real, but they're basically going to call who they're picking and picking surrogates. So for example, if they wanted to play, say, Irelia, and the person higher in the queue order doesn't have Irelia, they'll just pick a Teemo and tell the other team, hey, we're gonna actually have Irelia there. So, I don't know, this whole thing is going to be done over again. And it's just simply for the whole idea of some of the people on one of the teams has more limited champion pools than the other, so it keeps the game and champion select a lot fairer, which is a good thing. Not sure which of these picks are going to be legitimate picks and which picks are not, but I'd imagine that purple team's picks are going to be slightly more legitimate as they have more players in the higher tier rankings, so they're consisting mostly of platinums and diamond players. Meanwhile, on the blue team there's a few silver players who might not be as deep in terms of IP expenditures. So it all depends. Like, if it's an obvious troll pick, like a Teemo, obviously, then when this whole thing is redone, the lobby, they'll essentially do. And captains are communicating with each other, and hopefully they'll send me a message or two saying, hey, this isn't a legitimate pick, but that remains to be seen. So far, these picks are looking relatively legitimate. We have the Nautilus and Jarvan picked up to be a pretty solid tank line for the blue team. I'm not sure if that Nautilus might be going jungle with the Jarvan top, but I have a feeling it's going to be a Nautilus support. We've been seeing that a lot more ever since they buffed him. It was intended to be more of a buff for his jungle, but it actually buffed him really strongly in the support role, so that's where he's been seeing a lot of action recently. Meanwhile, on the other side, Brandman is very confident on his Graves. He was playing that a lot in the TESPA and CSL tournaments, so it's just a standard pickup for him. And it appears to be Morgana support, Mundo top, and Gragas jungle. Gragas is a pretty tanky jungler. He's no longer built as that AP burst caster in the mid lane like we saw back in Season 2. After a couple of the recent changes and the exception of Cinderhawk, he is finding a lot of popularity in the jungler role and is one of the few top laner, or one of the few junglers who actually has strong disengage with that ultimate, because most junglers we see, like Jarvan, like the Sejuani, are very good at going all in and CCing a team while they engage. Not so great, on the other hand, at the disengage. As these last picks are coming in, it looks somewhat legitimate. And it looks to be a Vladimir in the top lane and an Orianna in the mid lane for blue team. It's going to be a very solid AP foundation for the team. A good mix of AP and AD. A lot of tank stats and damage mitigation coming from that Nautilus, and Vladimir with those shields, Jarvan with his shield on his W as well. And my mic back up because here. Now it's a better mix of game sound, which I have a feeling you will want me to turn down rather than the microphone audio. So that should be a little bit better balanced now. And in the end here, we have ProFrog on that Diana in the mid lane. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Once Diana's fairly weak in the early game, and Orianna should be able to bully her pretty hard if she can land her Qs and autos while dodging the Crescent Blade. However, once Diana hits 6, it's going to be somewhat difficult for that Orianna to survive well in that lane. So it looks like getting into this game, we didn't need to remake that lobby, I don't believe, because I didn't see the obvious Teemo pickup, which would have been a fairly clear indication of that. So we're in the 3-minute delay, just looking at some of the picks here. Bot lane is going to be an interesting thing. Nautilus is a very strong, I guess, lane engage and a pretty good frontline early game for them, but with the Sivir, I'm not sure how well those two work together, because the Sivir is more of a focus on pushing the lane earlier in the game and doing AoE more, transitioning into the later fights rather than straight up brawling in the bot lane. So I'm not sure how well those two are going to be working together. Meanwhile, the Graves and Morgana synergy is somewhat better. That Black Shield can mitigate the CC from the Nautilus, and as well as catching out people with Dark Bindings. Nautilus is pretty tanky, but he can only take so many shots from Graves' shotgun before he starts taking damage. Jungle matchup. Jarvan's always been one of those pretty strong junglers. He got a couple nerfs a while back, maybe a buff here or two, but right now he's relatively strong. I'm not sure how well he fits into the current Cinderhulk jungle meta, but he's always going to be a very strong pick. Gragas recently came in with that patch, but I'm not sure how many games people have been able to play with him since that patch came out relatively recently, but it's going to be a very interesting battle in the jungle regardless. And in the top lane, Mundo, haven't seen a whole lot of action from him in recent times. Tank meta was something more, or tank top laners was something more of the beginning of Season 3, towards the middle of that. So he hasn't been a super highly contentious top pick for almost a year. He's still been pretty good, but not the greatest. So we'll see how well NannerBeans is able to function on that, versus a Vladimir, who's seen a lot of action from the Madison fans. In all of their TESPA and CSL tournaments, Kirby Commander, their top laner, has been just loving the AP top laners, and Vladimir is one of his standbys. So we'll see if Kason is able to have learned from the master Theater and see if he can do even better than that. So the delay time is ticking down here, and we'll soon be getting into watching the beautiful loading screens, and we can talk all about skin intimidation. Now looking at the skins here, on blue side there's just that Bladecraft Orianna. Meanwhile on the other side there are the skins of Lunar Goddess Diana and the Victorious Morgana. So skin intimidation is just a factor in that bot lane. Morgana might have a slight edge over that Nautilus. We'll see how well that's able to go into it though. But this is a very strong looking team from on purple side. I mean, Ranman was the AD carry for the Madison team through the CSL and TESPA tournaments, and I believe ProFrog is now replacing Vieiras in the mid lane as well. in the tryouts. I'm pretty sure Stoltmeister and NannerBeans were, I believe, alternates for the team. That's unconfirmed, but they're very, very solid players as well. Now the spectating time bug still being able to work out, and the timer just reset from 5 minutes into the game. Players have actually popped down into the rift now, so once the shield around the base drops, they'll be running out and seeing what these level 1 strats are going to be. So it looks like both teams are shifting to focus the bottom side of the map, seeing which early wards they can get out. There's the quick drop into River Brush by the Nautilus, but it is spotted out by the red side, so they know that there are people there and they haven't been trying a whole lot of shenanigans just yet. We'll see what they're able to do as we hit just a minute here. Minions up pretty soon, and I'm going to be very excited to see what comes of this. It looks like that Gragas and Jarvan are both sticking towards the bottom side, so it looks like it's going to be bottom side buffs to start with, and the Vladimir has walked his way top lane, so it looks like it's going to be standard lanes here, 2-on-2, AD carry, and support in the bottom lane. Standard bottom lane start on the Krugs and Gromp. Going to get their jungler started off pretty nicely there. We'll see which team decides to give their jungler the stronger leash. See who likes them more. There's the barrel coming out, and here comes the Gromp. And it looks like the mid laners have already arrived in lane. Let's see where the pressure comes from there. Bottom lane is getting there right about the same time, and Vladimir putting the early pressure onto the Mundo, but Mundo throwing cleavers right back and being a nuisance. Now the difference in the support starting items, Nautilus being the tank stat favored support, is starting more with that Relic Shield, which he's going to turn into that Targon's Brace. Is going to get, that's his way of getting gold for the AD carry. Meanwhile, Morgana has decided to go with the Spell Thief's Edge, which is a little more dependent on landing that Tormented Soil and a few auto attacks here and there. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Orianna's passive, that wind-up, bringing a little more pain to Diana. Each successive auto attack she can manage to weave in there. And ProFrog is feeling the pressure just a little bit. That flask start for him, maybe he's going to keep trying to spam those Crescent Blades, maybe take a shield or two, try and keep himself healthy. So far, it hasn't been working out too well for him. But that's going to be a different story as his levels start ticking up. Hook lands onto the Sivir after a Nautilus hook to engage, and the Morgana is dropped dangerously low, but the Sivir is starting to run out of mana. And here's the first gank of the game. It's the Gragas onto the Vladimir. Vladimir forced a flash, but he does manage to trade some damage back. Does not look like he's going to be recalling just yet, and that Gragas is staying top, maybe hoping to finish him off, but here comes Jarvan around the backside. There goes the Gragas engage, throws the barrel. Barrel misses, and Jarvan's still sitting around on the backside waiting to engage, but it looks like he's pulling back. Vladimir doesn't have his Trixie spells to use, so it looks like Jarvan was just there to give the Vladimir more of a feeling of safety, being able to walk up and do some damage there. Both of the junglers have gone to their topside camps, Gragas on the Krugs and Jarvan on the Gromp. In the mid lane, Orianna is starting to have to burn mana to keep that Diana's health a little lower. And in the top lane, Vladimir continues to push in the Mundo and keep his health just a little bit lower. Once that starts scaling up, however, the Mundo regeneration is probably going to outscale the amount of damage that the Vladimir is able to put onto him, but we'll see how that goes. Vladimir has a pretty strong spike with the maxing of his Q at level 9, So I have a feeling that's going to be right about the last opportunity that Vladimir is going to have to take advantage of Mundo. Meanwhile, Orianna in the mid lane has completely exhausted herself of mana, so it's going to be very difficult for her to keep the pressure on Diana if she doesn't back very soon. She still has a biscuit though, so she has enough for maybe one last combo. Here comes the Gragas for the gank though, but Orianna might sense it and is sitting on the bot side. Here comes the Gragas. Barrel lands, body slam lands. They don't have enough burst just yet to be able to finish her off. But now she's forced to back, about half health, very low mana, and it looks like Jarvan is going for the Krugs, and bot side, the Gragas is going for the Scuttle Crab. Gotta get that little skittle of vision for himself. NannerBeans, landing a couple successive cleavers onto the Vladimir, starts pulling him down, but the thing that happens with those Mundo cleavers is that it just takes a couple missed cleavers to have the pressure shift completely in the opposite direction. Flash engaged by the Nautilus, lands onto the Graves, couple flashes burned on the other side, not a whole lot happens of that, and a successful Jarvan gank. It burned a couple summoners, but there were a couple summoners burned to make that engage happen. And it looks like the Orianna in the mid lane did not actually back after all. Both of them are sitting dangerously low mana. ProFrog, however, has run out of flasks to use, and that biscuit consumed by the Orianna as well. That Mundo passive has helped NannerBeans to sustain all of that damage back, and First Blood has gone over to him, as the successive cleavers landing has been too much for the Vladimir to out-sustain. Nautilus walks up and misses his AoE, and Gragas walks just past and body slams onto the Sivir, doing some damage. Lots of very, very low mana bars on both sides in that bot lane. Ward's being swept out there, and bot lane is staying despite the Gragas lingering in that lane. Meanwhile, Jarvan has gone mid to not a whole lot of success. So far, just a slight out-CSing from the top lane and mid lane and bot lane, and the First Blood giving purple side a slight gold lead, just a little under 1k. And with the first backs, the Vladimir has decided to pick up two books to read. It's probably going to turn into a gun at some point, because game logic. And the Mundo went with that Spectre's Cowl, which is going to give him even more damage mitigation, and give that Vlad even more of a hard time in that lane. Both of them are hitting 6, if not 7 at this point, so they have their ultimates available. Mundo, more of a tanking presence of an ult. Meanwhile, Vladimir is more of doing quite a bit of damage in an area to some of the squishier members of purple side. But here comes the Gragas gank. He got blue buff, so he's been able to sustain all that mana back. And despite how tanky Nautilus is, he's unable to survive the repeated buckshots and spells that the purple side has thrown at them. Here come more Mundo cleavers. Flash burned, but it doesn't look like Mundo's stopping. He pops his ult, takes the Vlad ult, but is that going to be enough to finish him off? I don't think it is. The Mundo ult is just too strong, and it looks like purple side, with the successive victories of bot and top lane, are going to be taking the first dragon of the game. Jarvan is in the area, but he does not get the steal, and is going to be taken down for his troubles. The mid lane itemization is a very interesting thing right now. They were dead even up until right there and farmed pretty equally, and the Diana opted for the straight into the needlessly large rod and a couple potions. Meanwhile, the Orianna went for some CDR and a little bit of MR, just to see what she can do about that increasingly dangerous Diana assassination potential now that she has hit 6 and has her ultimate available. Now the Orianna has spotted the Gragas, doing his red buff. I'm not sure how wise of a decision that is, however. She does have her ultimate available, but so does Gragas. And here comes the choice. Ultimate popped and ignite. buff transfer complete. Orianna takes out the Gragas. He had no idea that she was sitting there. So Trixie play back from the blue side might give him a little bit of breathing room in the pressure that this purple side is bringing and increasingly scaling up on. Hextech's Revolver completed for the Vladimir in the top lane, but that's just an item component versus that full-size Spirit Visage that Mundo has picked up. He's going to be a lot to deal with, and that early Sanguine Pool, probably not the right time to do it, and is just going to... that Vlad is just going to die again to the Mundo. Jarvan was sitting around on the top side initially, but it looked like he thought better of it, but here he comes again. Mundo does not have his ultimate available, and he gets Demaciaed right away. But this is Mundo that the Jarvan has to deal with. Smites the minion wave, but it looks like he's going to be going down for his troubles. Mundo with another kill. He is now 4-0. With that fully completed Spirit Visage, he's going to be a tank that is difficult for anyone to deal with. There goes the ultimates on both sides from the blue side, but they are unable to even finish dropping the Graves. Morgana ulti hitting both of them, stunning them up, and doing quite a bit of damage, and locking them down so the Graves can finish the job. Gragas was sitting on the backside, however, and it looks like they're going to be putting quite a bit of hurt onto this turret, if not taking it down entirely. So far, the top and bot lanes for the blue side have been looking slightly weaker than that of the purple side, and that's where the majority of the production of the game has come, and that's why purple side has a 4.5k gold lead. Solo laners, however, holding pretty well constant, just a slight CS lead onto that Diana, and it looks like that Orianna is itemizing towards an Athene's, which, after a couple of recent changes, is, I guess, a stronger item choice now. Earlier in the season, you would have been laughed at for picking an item of that nature in most cases. Looks like red side has backed off slightly for now, just farming up the lanes, pushing them out a bit. All the buffs have expired and ticked off, and it doesn't look there's going to be a dragon, not even on the radar yet, but we're only 12 minutes into this game, so there could still be a lot of action happening. But still, that 4k gold lead this early in the game is going to be somewhat troubling for the blue side to try and counteract later on. That Mundo is going to become increasingly unstoppable, and one thing that they might have expected is that both Mundo and Vladimir survive relatively well in a 2v1 situation, and a missed ult by Orianna does not stop Diana from getting Demaciaed, but she's able to flash out of it, keep herself safe. So just a missed ult was the difference there. Getting back to what I was saying, since this Mundo is doing so well against the Vladimir, the blue side might have considered trying a lane swap, just to be able to bring some of the pressure back and mitigate all of the harass that losing both lanes has done to them so far. But they keep going back to the standard lane matchups and are going to be taking increasingly strong hits from these carries. That Graves with a completed Infinity Edge over just the Sivir's BF Sword and boots. Looks like Jarvan is going to be coming in, but red side has that completely warded up. They aren't going to be getting through at all, and purple side is playing very safe in this game. Vladimir takes another cleaver to the face, and with that Spirit Visage, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage at all with just a Hextech. He's now 30 CS down, 14 minutes into this game, quite a big deficit coming in. Gragas has been able to back off and do some power farming, now has his jungle item, and the Cinder Hulk working into it. He's going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and being very tanky into this game. There's the completion on it, and immediately goes for Tenacity Boots, so he's not going to stop for nobody. Dragon's going to be up in about 30 seconds. Red side has complete vision control over the Dragon Pit, and it has lanes pushed in on both sides. Now the AD carry and support have decided to roam up. Dark Binding just misses onto the Orianna, and she's trying to keep the minion wave off of the turret. somewhat successfully. Here comes the teleport from the Mundo onto bottom tower. Looks like all 5 members are going to be slowly but steadily grouping up for this dragon. Looks like the blue side has the positioning advantage right now, but neither side is actually in the river at this moment. It looks like purple side's jungler Gragas, the guy who has Smite, has actually decided to go up top to stop the Vladimir push. And the walk-off disengage from purple side keeps a fight from breaking out in that situation. Here comes the Morgana ult. There's the Orianna ult, but it doesn't only locks up 2. There's a completion of the Morgana ult onto 2, and the rest of the team has arrived to start bursting down people. Nautilus has already fallen for Madison's side. Ults burned all across the board. The only one that has not been used at this point is that On the Hunt from Sivir. That might be used if they decide to make an attempt at a steal here, which I'm not sure would be a great idea considering that purple side still has quite a substantial health bars, and the blue side is a member down. Couldn't have attempted a steal anyways. They spiked down the dragon far too quickly, and all they could do was get some push onto that lane. Sivir might be getting caught out here, is forced to flash the body slam, and just more and more advantages taken by purple side. That's the second dragon, and summoners picked off of most of the members of Madison. Orianna is the only one with both summoners still remaining on that side. So a very bloody fight, and it comes out with another kill getting picked up by purple side and the second dragon of the game. They've returned to standard lane matchups, and here comes Mundo killing, or at least putting a lot of hurt onto that Vladimir again. Looks like Jarvan has come top, and it looks like the Nautilus is roaming up as well. Here comes the minion wave. Here comes the Jarvan, though. Mundo's just going to walk out of this, throw a cleaver. Jarvan actually misses the flag and drag, and the Nautilus brings the Mundo back into the fight just a little bit. And just another cleaver for the face of Vladimir. Just ultimate disrespect that they couldn't kill him 3v1. Mundo has hit 6 and does have that Spirit Visage, so he's going to be virtually unkillable to that Vladimir. He's going to be able to sustain pretty much all of it back faster than the Vladimir can dish out damage. Meanwhile, while that Nautilus roamed, Sivir has been working her butt off to try and keep that lane shoved, but it's been proving very difficult for her. That Graves Morgana combo is potent, especially when Graves still has his completed Infinity Edge, hasn't backed yet, and your Sivir doesn't even have her completed IE yet. So farming differences evening out a little bit in the top and bottom lanes, but now the Diana has pulled farther ahead of the Orianna in terms of CS. And here come the big pickups from the purple side after that last one fight and the dragon. Looks like there's going to be a second Cinderhulk acquisition by purple side, and that was a blue steal by the Gragas. Tossed down a barrel and an ultimate and was able to secure blue side's blue buff. Mundo is now going where he pleases in that bottom lane, not even caring that he hasn't taken down the turret yet. The 6k gold lead, not even 20 minutes into this game, is doing work for that purple side. And they aren't surrendering any advantages. The Gragas just blatantly walked in and took the blue buff. He didn't care at all. But now that Diana, in addition to her needlessly large rod, has a completed Abyssal Scepter, so she's going to be blowing out the back line of blue side, assuming she can land a couple crescents and get in with her ultimate. There's another turret falling on blue side. That's the third one of the game, and they haven't been able to take one in retribution. As tanky as Nautilus is, you aren't able to sustain against 5 members of their team, buddy. Gotta be careful who you're throwing your hook at. Nautilus is only able to acquire a Sightstone, and that's not great for a support. I mean, he's 0-3, but it's not a whole lot of combat stats. Sivir, however, was able to successfully split push bottom lane, and assuming Vladimir makes it out of there, that's some pressure swung back top as well. But while they were doing that, red side was able to just walk in and take a mid turret, so I'm not sure how well that worked out for them. All it did was bring minions closer for the red side to farm, and there's that Diana with that Abyssal and needlessly large rod just blowing up that Orianna. Not a whole lot she could do about it. Kills are now 10-1 in favor of red side in the first game of this best of 2. Dragon is up in a minute and a half. It's going to be interesting to see if blue side is going to be able to do anything to stage a comeback in this game. Looks like there's some recalls across the board. Get your last picks before Dragon. And it looks like Graves is going to continue to be stacking on that Avarice Blade, getting a little extra greed in there for a few more gold pieces. Vladimir now has finally finished his Will of the Ancients, and the Mundo now with Tenacious Boots as well, so Vladimir's going to have a hard time touching him. Just the Mundo regeneration combined with all of that magic resist and health regen of those items are going to make him really hard to deal with. The Dragon's up in 30 seconds. Looks like red side is grouping down. Blue side is forced to back off. Jarvan had just based and is not going to be available for a few more seconds. Sivir looks like she's going back down to try and get a shove on bot lane. Dragon's up in 10, and the engage comes onto the Diana, but that's not the person you want, Nautilus. You don't have any tank stats yet in this game, and your team wasn't behind you, so you are going to go down. Unless Jarvan is able to complete a miraculous steal here, this is going to be Dragon number 3 of the game, going over to blue side. He has vision of it now, but that might be a suicide move. Looks like they are backing off, and Vladimir is able to actually teleport out. Mundo does not get the satisfaction of another kill onto him. And he was smart enough to do it on a turret, so he gets the reduced cooldown. So, making the best of a bad situation there. Good job, Case on 11. On that, I guess, desperation teleport out. But it looks like red side is now grouping up, and they're going to be chunking down top side now. Not sure blue is going to be able to do anything to contest this here. The gold lead is such that red side can basically walk in and say, yep, that's a nice turret. Belongs to us now, and we're tearing it down. I'm not sure what blue side is going to be able to do to contest it. They do have some pretty good AoE ults with that Hemoplague and Command Shockwave, but at this stage in the game, I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to contest with that. On the Hunt, used as a disengage tool, and Gragas ult forces them even farther out of the fight. Very low health bars here, and the Nautilus dropped yet again. I mean, the leveling advantage is really starting to stack up in favor of red side as well. I mean, Orianna is level 12 as opposed to Diana's 13. Mundo is 14 as opposed to Vladimir's 12. So, long before the blue side had their tier 2 ults, the purple side absolutely had theirs. So now all of the carries for red side have 3 or more kills, and the advantages are really starting to weigh down on this blue side. Nautilus is having a bad time of it because he can't safely hook and engage someone because his team usually isn't behind him well enough, and he gets taken down immediately. And it looks like red side is just slowly pushing in waves. They might be pushing something up, forcing a fight at either the top or bot turrets, and if they win that, they'd probably be getting a turret at the very least, Baron at the very worst. Hook from Nautilus just misses onto the Diana. So engagement fail for him. Command Orianna using that speed gate to get the team out of there, keeping them safe for the time being. Now the ward battle is going very strongly. Oh! Dark Binding does land on the Jarvan, but the Flag and Drag is used successfully to keep himself alive, but he's dropped to about half HP and is going back along with that Orianna to finish getting some mana, maybe getting one last item or two. Got a book and some clothing. So she's going to be smarter and better dressed, hopefully do a little more damage and survive in those fights a tad bit longer. Diana has now got her completed Zhonya's Hourglass, which is even more damage, and is just going to be continually chunking down that Vladimir, who has gone with some armor stacking as opposed to MR to combat Mundo and Diana. And purple side going for Baron even without the Mundo, and Mundo got eyes on Jarvan, so they know they can do this safely without a smite inbound for quite some time. They still have at least half of their HP at the moment, but that Baron is pretty deadly. They had to back off of it. There's the command shockwave landing onto ProFrog. He just Zhonya's and keeps himself in the fight. Nautilus uses his ultimate successfully this time, and they are able to take her out of the fight. Jarvan going deep, unable to take anyone out, and it looks like they're caught in a sticky situation here. Jarvan leaves Nautilus to die. He's going to be dropped yet again. And Mundo finds the Orianna on the backside. She's out of mana and is going to take a cleaver to the face. Failed flash by NannerBeans keeps the Jarvan alive for just a little bit. And Gragas isn't having a whole lot of that. But now this somewhat Baroned up. Wait, no, they never actually secured Baron, but the successful fight winning red side pushing in top turret. Just another advantage going over to them. Turret lead is 5-2 with over 10k gold in the lead. Nautilus finds out Stoltmeister on Morgana, and she never actually got to back, and so Jarvan is able to take her out. And Mundo ultimate burned, so he's just going to run out of there. No on the hunt available to help chase him down. So he's going to walk out of there, keep himself alive. But Dragon is in 15 seconds, and there are still 2 pink wards that blue side haven't even seen yet, let alone got an attempt to sweep out. So this vision game is still very strongly in the favor of red side, even with that slight little breath of air that they got from a few kills in that last team fight. Now going into this though, that Sivir is dangerously low, about half HP and about a third mana. She's not going to be able to do a whole lot. Once she pops her on the hunt, she might have time for one Boomerang Blade. That's about it, unless she can get a good spell shield off. Orianna caught out, separated from the rest of her team. Takes a barrel and a smack from Gragas. She's just going to walk out of there. But now blue side has surrendered positioning of the Dragon Pit, rather. And it looks like they're maybe positioning for a miraculous steal attempt. Meanwhile, the Mundo is just throwing cleaver after cleaver across. And he has the Sunfire cape completed, so he's just going to be hurting no matter, even if he's just walking up close to you. There's the ball in, but is unable to steal it away. Orianna forced to flash the body slam, but takes the Gragas ult, gets blown back into the fight, and is walking out of there. Shockwaves the Gragas for good measure, but everyone's walking out. That was a flash. Sivir trying to keep herself safe. Nautilus, however, is a different story. Randman absolutely wrecking along with that Mundo, both of them with 5 and 6 kills respectively. Jarvan with the failed flag and drag over the wall. And it looks like they are going for Baron attempt number 2 this time. And with all 5 members there, looks like it's going far more successfully. They have the Mundo as the infinite tank. And there goes Baron. Another advantage taken by the red side. Gold lead still over 10k, and the kills are now 17-3 in favor of them. They now have 4 dragons, so this next dragon could spell the end for blue side if they are unable to steal it away. But almost perfect objective timing from the purple side, keeping a lockdown on both the dragon and the Baron pit all day. Blue side hasn't been able to successfully contest anything all game. Sure, they got that Baron attempt in, but I have a feeling that purple side still could have gotten the Baron and done some team fighting. Maybe a little less successfully, but I think they were just playing safe and not trying to finish it off and splitting their team between finishing and fighting. So they're playing unified on this purple side, which looks very good for them going into the semifinal games, assuming they don't lose to blue side here in the remainder of this game and in the next game. There goes the final outer turret, well, non-base turret for blue side, and the advantages are stacking up very heavily in their favor. More crescents landing for Diana, which have really started to hurt in this late game. And the Dark Binding lands onto the Nautilus. Takes an Orianna shield, but I'm not sure how well effective that's going to be. Hooks the cannon minion. Pretty sure that's not what he was going for here. Dark Binding lands onto the Orianna. She forced to shield herself. Using more and more of her mana, she's getting really low. Nautilus hooking his way out of there, going back to base, trying to get some of his health back. And there's a lot of range on the red side for poking down this team. You have Mundo Cleavers, Dark Bindings, Tormented Soil, Gragas Barrels, Graves Buckshot, and Diana Qs. And they can engage anytime they want to. Randman with the reverse ultimate, throwing it back down the lane to the other side, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too much of a difference here. 3 members of the blue side drop dangerously low into this fight. Nautilus walking out with just a sliver of his health, and it looks like red side is going to be able to take that turret despite the Graves ultimate going in the complete opposite direction. Now it looks like they are rotating to mid, and that was just mean looking. All 5 members converged onto that Orianna and took her out like that. Vladimir finally finishes his Zonia's Hourglass, so he has a few more juke maneuvers to see if he can do anything in this game. Nautilus, their primary tank line, just got bursted out, and Vladimir was not able to successfully Zonia's, so he gets taken down yet again. All the body slams and buckshots hitting members of the blue side. They're all taken dangerously low. And that turret is now rapidly falling. NannerBeans on Mundo pops his ultimate, sustains all of the damage that they've been able to whittle down in the last 3 minutes back. There's the command shockwave on the Jarvan. Takes out no one, but drops that Gragas to just a sliver of health. And he's out of mana, so drinking's a little bit more of a trouble for him. But despite how effective in theory that ball delivery mechanism works, wasn't able to take out anyone on purple side, and Jarvan did die for his troubles. So blue side now with 2 inhibitors down, trying desperately to hold off this red team. But Dragon's going to be up in 45 seconds, and I'm pretty sure that's going to spell the death of blue side. But props to red team for playing this game very methodically, not making plays that are too aggressive. They've been able to successfully whittle down blue team from range with all of that range that they're doing. Textbook demonstration of the Mundo Cleavers landing onto Vlad. And then when they're ready to go in, they have very strong engage as well from that Diana and Gragas. So here comes Dragon in 10 seconds. Blue side is in no way, shape, or form able to contest this. So they're going to get Dragoned up real soon, and I have a feeling it's going to be a strong push into the base. So there's the final dragon, or what I imagine is the final dragon of the game. And Nautilus, putting all of the emphasis onto that Mundo, takes out just a few hundred health though, and he's going to have that back in the next 10 seconds or so. And despite all that, Mundo's still perfectly healthy, and here comes the push from the red side. Looks like they're going for the safe way to win this game. Slowly pushing in onto that top side, taking out the third and final inhibitor before moving on to the Nexus turrets. Blue side has to deal with inhibitors flooding in from both mid and bot lane, and it looks like Mundo's being a big X factor in there as well. Forcing a flash from the Orianna, throwing cleavers like he just don't care. There's the command shockwave and the flag and drag, ball delivery system. Still not enough to take out that Mundo. Mundo the Unkillable survives all of blue side's attacks, and when the day is done, blue side has nothing left for the rest of red team, and they're going to be taken out. GG's coming out as the Nexus is destroyed. Game 1 over to purple side.